Jersey Tea Party patriots, citizens, voters, taxpayers, constitutionalists, Americans, I am honored to join you today in defense of liberty and freedom to talk to you about the supremacists, judicial tyrants, and what we can do to stop them. The timing of this topic is very apropos. Not only are we here by the courthouse, but in addition to that, we are facing a replacement for retiring Supreme Court Justice John Paul Stevens, and perhaps at least one more justice while Barack Obama is still president. But by May 1st, Governor Chris Christie will decide whether or not to renominate New Jersey State Supreme Court Justice John Wallace to the most activist state Supreme Court in America. This nomination must come before the New Jersey State Senate Judiciary Committee by May 20th. Should Justice Wallace be renominated, his term of office will end 2 years later at the official age of 70. Besides Justice Wallace, who was nominated by Jim McGreevey, Governor Christie will also be able to nominate or renominate 3 other justices before his term ends in 2014, having the opportunity to reshape our tyrannical court, a court that now houses 4 Democrats, 2 Republicans, and an independent, all, despite their party, act as liberal for the most part. Also keep in mind that since 1947, no sitting justice has ever been denied tenure. Senate President Richard Sweeney thinks very highly of Justice Wallace, and Senate Judiciary Committee member Ray Lesniak has threatened, stating that if Wallace was not reappointed, no one else would stand a chance to be appointed by the Senate committee. On the other hand, Jerry Cardinale, our senator here in Bergen County, also on the same committee, indicated that Wallace was part of the liberal wing of the court that ran wild and decided to rewrite versus interpret the Constitution. During the GOP gubernatorial primary, Steve Lonigan and Rick Merck ran on a platform of completely cleaning out our activist state Supreme Court, while Governor Christie stated, "I want someone who is extraordinarily bright, and I want someone who will interpret laws in the Constitution, not legislate for the bench." This will be the first major test for Chris Christie regarding his will about reshaping our court. And although Justice Wallace was not yet part of the court that gave us the Mount Laurel and Abbott decisions, he did join with the majority in Lewis v. Harris regarding civil unions. And it is hard to forget that candidate Christie voiced his support for Sonia Sotomayor without any legitimate need to do that as a gubernatorial candidate. Chris Christie was also the sole Republican who supported Stu Rabner for the state Supreme Court when Rabner was Governor Corzine's Attorney General. So as part of my topic today is to give you some thoughts about what you can do to rid ourselves of judicial tyranny. I start with number 1. On Monday, I want you to call Governor Christie and tell him what you think of our state Supreme Court. And you don't want him to renominate anybody who's a judicial activist. I read the following. I'm going to insert my name, Carolee Adams, solemnly swear that I will administer justice without respect to persons and do equal right to the poor and to the rich, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon me as Justice of the United States Supreme Court under the Constitution and laws of the United States, so help me God. This is the oath commonly taken by a United States Supreme Court Justice. Recall this oath as I proffer the following names. Diane Wood, better known as the ghost of Harry Blackmun, held that pro-life protesters of abortion clinics were liable under a racketeering law designed to combat mobsters. Diane Wood is a leading contender to replace Justice Stevens. Number 2, while Dean at Harvard Law, Elena Kagan banned military recruiters from campus, she similarly defied a law passed by Congress and signed by President Clinton that required withholding funds from any schools that excluded the military from their campus. Elena Kagan is also a leading contender to replace Justice Stevens. And here's my favorite, Harold Koh. Harold Coe, the former dean of Yale Law School, and now the top attorney in Obama's State Department, calls himself a transnationalist, which means that he wants to import and integrate all kinds of foreign laws into our domestic laws. Coe has been quoted by other lawyers as telling a 2007 audience that, quote, in an appropriate case, he, meaning Coe, didn't see any reason why Sharia law, Muslim law, would not be applied to govern a case in the United States. Sharia domestic violence courts already exist in the United Kingdom versus British criminal courts, while Muslim women in Canada have rejected them because they recognize the loss of practical and protective rights for women. Further consider that Barack Obama himself called himself a citizen of the world, a transnationalist, pledging to rejoin the world community. Harold Coe is another leading contender to replace Justice Stevens. Currently, there are about 9 contenders like this waiting in the wings to reshape our rule of law according to their liberal whimsy. And they reference a living constitution rather than deciding cases according to the original intent of the writers of our Constitution as they actually wrote it. Any Obama nominee in the future has to be fully interrogated to ascertain his views about Obamacare, because I just heard on the radio on my way up from Trenton that Obamacare they expect to be debated in the Supreme Court.